Good evening and welcome everyone. My name is Phil Beaumont. I'm a lieutenant with the Sheriff's Department. I've been on the department for 27 years. I'm currently assigned to the Lakeside substation. Before that assignment at Lakeside, I was assigned as a SWAT commander. And the reason why I tell you this is it's the SWAT commander's responsibility to compile this AB 481 report. And I was also a team member on the team for a number of years. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for coming out and for you that are online to be part of this meeting. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to answer any questions and to explain what AB 481 is and the equipment that we use. I'd like to demystify why we have this equipment. I'll give a brief, short presentation on what Assembly Bill 481 is and the information it contains. I will then give a brief overview of the equipment we have. After the presentation, we'll answer questions that you have related to any of the equipment. After the presentation, we'll open the meeting up for questions and answers. We'll take our online questions first, and then open it up to the in-person questions. For those of you in attendance, if you have a question, please contact one of the moderators, which would be either Edith or Josette. And they'll give you a card. Just write your card down write your question down on the card and give it to them, and then we'll get to answering your questions. A copy of this PowerPoint will also be available online after the meeting, and this meeting is being recorded. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Assistant Sheriff Ken Jones. He's with the Law Enforcement Services Bureau, the current SWAT commander, Lieutenant McConaughey, and Lieutenant Galvey. He's with the Office of the Sheriff. I introduced these gentlemen because they have oversight over all this equipment. All the listed equipment is used in accordance with federal, state, and local laws. The equipment is also governed by the San Diego County Sheriff's Department policies and procedures, which is available online, and will only be used by personnel specifically trained on the equipment. And the majority of this equipment is assigned to the Sheriff's Emergency Services Division and is used at critical incidents and under authorization of Sheriff Supervisors. Prior to the use of any of this equipment, we always attempt de-escalation and negotiations. Our goal is always a peaceful resolution. I'd also like to note, if you'd like to follow along and view our annual military equipment use report, you can scan the QR code and it'll take you right to our website, www.sdsheriff.gov. AB 481 overview. Transparency. AB 481 became state law in January of 2022, and it was passed to increase transparency and accountability. Approvals. The Sheriff's Department must obtain approval from the Board of Supervisors prior to any purchasing or taking certain actions related to the funding, acquisition, or use of military equipment. The Sheriff's Department will also post an annual military equipment report detailing inventory, capabilities, purchase costs, and usage for the year. The Sheriff's annual report includes information on the equipment's purpose, its use, complaints, information on any violations, annual cost, quantity possessed, and future equipment. The information on this slide is currently in our inventory. A full detailed listing can be found located on our webpage. A full description of what is classified and as military equipment can be found in legislature of AB 481. Sheriff's Department covers 4,200 square miles in the county of San Diego with a population of 3.3 million people. We have 18 patrol stations, 7 detention facilities, and 6 courthouses. In addition, we are the county's mutual aid coordinator and are often called upon to assist other agencies during critical incidents. On this slide, these are examples of some of our unmanned aerial systems and robotics. The video is an example of how UAS can be used to help with search and rescue operations. Some other examples would be looking for victims of a vehicle collision in a remote area, help with crime scene investigations, disaster, and assistance where our helicopters are unable to fly. The equipment can be helpful to find you and your family if you're in need, and we can get resources to you as quickly as possible. The other robotics are typically used during critical incidents, such as our SWAT standoffs and bomb threat situations. This equipment is not armed with any weapons or used for covert surveillance. They are not autonomous and are always controlled by deputies trained in their use. Anywhere we can use these, a deputy or a peace officer is legally allowed to be. Their intended use is to help find missing persons, armed suspects, or inspect suspicious or dangerous packages. They are also frequently used by our crisis negotiation team to negotiate and de-escalate critical incidents. Armored personnel carriers and multi-purpose wheeled vehicles. We have 3 Bearcats, 1 armored van, and 1 large armored car. 2 Bearcats are used by the SWAT team. One's located in San Marcos, it's staged there for quicker response, and one's located at Gillespie Field. The other Bearcat is outfitted for our bomb arson team and use for their purposes for their specialty equipment. These vehicles have armor plating designed to stop bullets and are used for rescue missions or to transport personnel into dangerous areas under threat of fire. We'd use this equipment when responding to an active shooter. And like I said, we use these for evacuations and rescues. These vehicles are assigned to our SWAT team. It's not the normal patrol deputy that drives out there with these vehicles. These are only used in extreme circumstances during critical incidents. Here's an example of a incident that happened in 2013. A barricaded suspect threatening to kill people and law enforcement. The suspect fired over 300 rounds from a high-powered rifle, some of them striking the Bearcat. This piece of equipment protected the surrounding public as well as the first responders inside. Those bullet holes you see on the wall are bullet holes coming from the interior of the house out toward the public and toward the Bearcat, which protected the public and our deputies. Firearms and ammunition. This equipment is used only by the sheriff's SWAT team and by personnel specifically trained in its use. The equipment is not used by patrol deputies. This equipment is used in accordance with federal, state, and local laws and sheriff's policies and procedures. It's only used during the most highly critical incidents and under the authority of the SWAT commander. Some examples where this equipment may be used is years ago, the city of San Diego had a tank stolen from a National Guard armory, and this equipment would have benefited then. And also there was a situation in Colorado where they armored up a bulldozer and just wrecked the city. And this equipment, this specialty equipment, would have helped stop those from happening. And we've also had seizures of 20,000 rounds of 50 caliber ammunition and 400 pieces of body armor from search warrants involving drug cartels. These are examples of the explosives used by the SWAT team. The video shows an example of what it looks like when explosives are used to breach a door. This essentially uses a very small amount of explosives to push or blast open a door that may be heavily fortified. Only members of the SWAT team are trained in its use and are permitted to use it only with the authority from the SWAT commander. It's not an everyday incident, only under very extreme circumstances. And this equipment is only used when traditional means of breaching a door, such as a ram or a handheld tool, are believed to be ineffective or unsafe for the SWAT team member to use. The explosive breach would also be used during a hostage rescue incident. Here are some examples of the chemical agents that we use, the munitions. There are a variety of ways that they're dispersed. Some are smoke, aerosol, liquid, or vapor. They're assigned to the SWAT team and used under very specific circumstances and under authority of the incident commander. Their use is also governed by state law and sheriff's policies and procedures, and also AB 48. Here are many different versions of pepper spray. Pepper balls are the only item here that our trained deputies are allowed to carry out in the field, other than the can of pepper spray they can carry on their belt. Two items at the bottom right are light sound diversionary devices, and we use those for diversions during tactical operations. Their use is also governed by state law and sheriff's policies and procedures. And the pepper balls are launched from a version of a paintball gun. 40 millimeter launchers, less lethal beanbag shotgun, and less lethal munitions. These are examples. The 40 millimeter launcher can launch chemical agent munitions and also the sponge round. And the orange shotgun you see here launches less lethal super stock rounds. You might see those carried out in the field by deputies that are trained in their use. Their use is also governed by state law and sheriff's policies and procedures. Long-range acoustic device. This is essentially a large megaphone and used to send messages to large crowds over a long range. It can be used during critical incidents, to address large crowds, or to warn public of dangerous events. Command and control vehicles. We currently have 6 in our inventory. They're essentially a mobile office and are used to help coordinate resources during prolonged critical incidents. It also gets our staff out of inclement weather. Some examples of our major fires, search and rescue operations, major events, and high-risk critical incidents. Some of our future equipment we're looking to purchase. 4-legged robot, quadruped robots. We don't have any in our current inventory. Our current inventory operates on a track and tread base, which can make it difficult or impossible to overcome obstacles such as rubble, stairs, doors, piles of clothing, or other non-rigid debris. If a robot becomes disabled due to terrain or other obstacles, first responders are left with limited options to safely resolve an incident. This legged robot has the ability to balance itself in uncertain surroundings and cruise over gravel, grass, curbs, and stairs with ease. A robot can be outfitted with an arm that allows it to grasp and pull, pick up items, twist, turn, and open doors and drag objects. It can be outfitted with a camera and speaker to help inspection and with negotiations and de-escalation. It's not armed, and its intended purpose is to remotely view areas to ensure they're safe for first responders to go. An example of use of this was in 2023 in New York, a parking structure collapse in the financial district. NYPD and NYFD used the quadruped robot to listen for cries for help, use the thermal camera to detect heat sources and inspect structural integrity during rescue operations. The compact armored track vehicle, our current inventory of armored vehicles are versions of armored personnel carriers designed to transport and rescue people. They currently lack the ability to navigate rough terrain or move large pieces of debris for rescue efforts. This new vehicle is much more versatile and operates on a variety of surfaces such as snow, mud, soft surfaces. The armored track loader has a variety of different attachments which allow it to remove obstacles such as trees, fences, vehicles, and structures. This vehicle will be transported on a large bed to the critical incident and deploy from there. Vehicle is on tracks, making it much more stable and able to navigate difficult terrain. Our current fleet of armored vehicles lacks this ability, and the nearest mutual aid for this is approximately 2 hours away. That concludes our presentation, subject to any questions from the public. We'll take online questions first. If you're attending here in person and would like to ask a question, please write the question down and pass it to one of our moderators, Edith or Josette. We'll answer as many questions as we can. If it's a technical question that requires additional research, we can meet after, or feel free to email us at the provided email address, communityforums@sdsheriff.gov. We'll be available to answer any questions after the meeting. Thank you all for attending. We have a question. We have an online question.
Yes, we have the original doctora. Please type your question. The question is, how often are these used, and are there any anticipation for anything bigger?
Thank you for your question. The equipment we showed you here this evening is primarily for specific emergency situations when deputies need enhanced protection and capabilities. They undergo rigorous training to operate these vehicles and this equipment to safeguard your safety and the community's safety.
The second question, what is the cost to the people?
Thank you for your question. The cost of the people, we obtain this equipment through federal grants, and it varies on the different pieces of equipment.
Could this be used for the border invasion?
Like I said earlier, we use this equipment in any extreme circumstances or critical incidents.
But if there was a need, yes?
In order to protect the public, we would use this equipment. We don't use this equipment to enforce immigration laws. SB 54 does not allow local law enforcement to do that. So the question is, to protect the people, yes. We would use this equipment to protect the public, you, the public, officers, and deputies. Thank you for your question, and you're welcome. No more? Does anybody out there have any more questions? Please send us your questions, and we're happy to answer them. Does the LRAD have more capabilities than I mentioned? As far as I know, all we use it for is a loudspeaker or megaphone to address large crowds in critical incidents. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Please feel free to send us any more questions to the, here, let me bring it back up here for you guys. To this community forum at sdsheriff.gov if you have any more questions, and we'll conclude the meeting. Thank you very much for attending.